Don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. Good morning, dear students. Let us see the first lesson in Unit 1. Two Gentlemen of Verona by A.J. Cronin. Archibald Joseph Cronin was born on 19th July 1896. He was a Scottish physician and novelist. His best known works are Hatcher's Castle, The Stars Look Down, The Citadel, The Keys of the Kingdom, and The Green Years. He died on 6th January 1981. A.J. Cronin has very well carved the idea of selfless help and the importance of dedication towards relationships in this story. This story also tells about love, devotion, sacrifice, sincerity, and maturity displayed by two little boys in their actions to save the life of their sister who suffers from tuberculosis of the spine. The story begins in an ironical manner. As the narrator drives through the foothills of the Alps, his interest is provoked by the appearance of two little boys in front of their car. The narrator and his driver met two boys selling strawberries at the outskirts of Verona. The author's driver spoke to the boys and he discovered that they were brothers. The driver did not approve of the narrator buying fruits from the boys due to their shabby appearance. One was Nicola, aged 13, and another was Jacopo, aged 12. Nicola wore a worn-out jersey and cut-off khaki pants. Jacopo wore a shortened army tunic. They had brown skins, tangled hair, and dark, earnest eyes. Next day, coming out of their hotel, the author and his friend saw the boys bent over shoeshine boxes doing brisk business. They noticed the boys working hard under the hot sun. They shone shoes, sold fruits, hawked newspapers, conducted tourists around the town, and ran errands. On watching this, the narrator asked the two brothers whether they were saving money to immigrate to America. They replied that they have some other plans. The narrator wanted to help those two boys, so he asked them what help he could do for them. Jacopo replied whether he could take them to Poletta, 30 kilometers away from Verona, in his car. He also added that every Sunday they used to go in bicycle to that village. The narrator accepted and dropped the boys at a villa in Poletta. The boys jumped from the car and rushed into the building. When the narrator followed them, he was greeted by a nurse. On inquiry about the whereabouts of the boys, she took him to the cubicle and showed a girl in a bed. The girl was about 20 and strongly resembled the two boys. She was wearing a pretty lace jacket and was listening to their chatter. Her eyes were soft and tender. She was suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. She had intense love and affection for her brothers. The nurse narrated the secret mission of the two brothers to this narrator. Their father, a widower, a well-known singer, had been killed in the early part of the war. Shortly afterward, a bomb had destroyed their home and thrown the three children into the streets. They had always known a comfortable and cultured life. Lucia had herself been training as a singer, and they had suffered horribly from near starvation and exposure to the cold winter. Then for 3 years, the Germans ruled the city. The boys grew to hate the Germans. When the resistance movement began secretly to form, they were among the first to join. When the war was over and when there was peace at last, they came back to their beloved sister, and they found her suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. The narrator understands that the boys worked hard to support their sick sister's treatment, but they didn't wish to disclose it to anyone, as they valued their dignity and self-respect more than sympathy or financial help. The narrator sensed it when the boys refused to discuss their other plans with him, and also when they didn't take him into the villa. So he did not utter a word and preferred to keep the secret to himself. The ultimate mission of the boys' life centered on the welfare of their beloved sister. The boys seem to be a surprise pack of values in this modern era of selfishness. Behind their shabby appearances were hidden two noble souls whose dedication and selflessness promise a new hope for mankind. Dear students, take a textbook, have a pencil with you. Page 1. Now we can see the prose, Two Gentlemen of Verona by A.J. Cronin. Here is a story about love, devotion, sacrifice, sincerity and maturity displayed by two boys in their actions to save the life of their sister who suffers from tuberculosis of the spine. Read the story to find out how their actions give a new hope for humanity. This story talks about the self-sacrifice and devotion, the selfless help of two brothers towards their sister who was suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. We can see the story now. As we drove through the foothills of the Alps, two small boys stopped us on the outskirts of Verona. The author, A.J. Cronin, and his driver were driving towards the city of Verona. While entering into the city, they were stopped by two boys. They were selling wild strawberries. Don't buy, warned Luigi, a cautious driver. Cautious means careful. The driver warned the narrator not to buy the strawberries. What's the reason for that? You will get much better fruit in Verona. Besides, these boys. He said that they could get better fruits in Verona. But that was not only the reason. He also think that these boys wore shabby dresses. He shrugged his shoulders to convey his disapproval of their shabby appearance. Shrugged means raising the shoulders. He raised his shoulders and conveyed his disapproval that they were very shabby and he should not buy the fruits from them. One boy had on a worn jersey and cut-off khaki pants. The other a shortened army tunic gathered in loose folds about his skinny frame. One boy, in that two brothers, had worn a jersey, a torn jersey, and cut-off khaki pants. The other had worn a tunic. Tunic means a loose outer garment without sleeves that looked very loose in his skinny frame. He was very lean and thin. Yet, gazing at the two little figures with their brown skins, tangled hair, and dark earnest eyes. Tangled means complicated. It was not combed properly and so the hair looked very complicated. We felt ourselves strangely, surprisingly attracted. On seeing their shabby appearance, the narrator was attracted towards them. My companion spoke to the boys, discovered that they were brothers. Nicola, the elder, was 13. Jacopo, who barely came up to the door handle of the car, was nearly 12. Those two boys were brothers. The name of one boy was Nicola. He was 13. And another one was Jacopo. He was 12. We watched their bigger basket and then set off toward town. So the author bought the biggest basket of the fruits and they were moving towards the town. Next morning, coming out of a hotel, we saw our friends bent shoeshine boxes beside the fountain in the public square, doing brisk business. The next morning, while the author was coming out of the hotel, he saw these two boys. They were polishing the shoes. We watched for a few moments. Then as trade slackened, we went over. They greeted us with friendly faces. So for a few moments, this author, the narrator and his driver watched those two boys. As the trade was reduced, they both walked towards those two boys. The boys greeted them with a smile. I thought you picked fruit for a living, I said. The narrator said the boys, I thought yesterday as you were selling fruits only to run your life. But now I had seen that you were doing many jobs. We do many things, sir, Nicola answered seriously. For that, Nicola answered that they were doing many jobs. He glanced at us hopefully. He was expecting something from the author and his driver. Often we show visitors through the town to Juliet's Town and other places of interest. He said that he would take the visitors around the town and showed many places. All right, I smiled. You take us along. The author had accepted that the boys can take them around the town. As we made the rounds, my interest was again provoked. Provoked means aroused by the remarkable demeanor. Demeanor means appearance and behavior. So he was much attracted towards the appearance and behavior. They were childish enough and in many ways quite artless. These boys were quite artless. Artless means innocent. Jacopo was lively as a squirrel. Jacopo was always busy. He was very active. Nicola's smile was steady and engaging. Yet, in both these boys' faces, there was a seriousness which was far behind their ears. So even though they looked very innocent, something was seen in their faces. In the week which followed, we saw them frequently for they proved extremely useful to us. In the next week also, these two people, the author as well as his driver, saw them always, and they had helped these two persons. If we wanted a pack of American cigarettes or seats for the opera or the name of good restaurant, Nicola and Jacopo could be relied upon to satisfy our needs. Rely means depend. For each and everything, they had to depend on the two boys. What struck one most was a willingness to work. So they were very eager. They were showing much interest in doing all the works. During these summer days, under the hot sun, they shined shoes, sold fruit, hawked newspapers. Hawk means selling things, cry out loudly, conducted tourists around the town and ran errands. They have done many jobs. They not only polished shoes, they sold fruits, they sold newspapers, they took the visitors around the town and also many other jobs. One night, we came upon them in the windy and deserted square, resting on the stone pavement beneath the lights. So one night, the author and his friend saw these two brothers sitting in the pathway below the lights. Nicola sat upright, tired. A bundle of unsold newspapers lay at his feet. Nicola was very tired, and this author noticed a bundle of unsold newspapers. A bundle of newspapers which was not sold was near his feet. Jacopo, his head resting upon his brother's shoulder, was asleep. Jacopo was leaning on his brother Nicola and was sleeping. It was nearly midnight. "Why are you out so late, Nicola?" "Waiting for the last bus from Padua. We shall sell all our papers when it comes in." So the narrator asked Nicola why they were out in this midnight. He replied that they wanted to sell the papers and they were waiting for the bus from Padua. "Must you work so hard? You both look rather tired." "We are not complaining, sir. Complaining means not worrying. Not complaining means not worrying." So the narrator was asking the brothers why you were working so hard. You were looking so tired. But the brother replied that they were not worrying about it. "But next morning, when I went over to the fountain to have my shoes shined, I said, 'Nicola, the way you and Jacopo work, you must earn quite a bit. You spend nothing on clothes. You eat little enough. When I see you have a meal, it's usually black bread and figs. Tell me, what do you do with your money?'" Now the narrator, next morning, he met these two brothers and he asked, "Why were you working so hard? You were not eating properly, you were not dressing up neatly, and why were you working so hard?" He colored deeply under his sunburn and then grew pale. He looked to the ground. He had turned pale, working in the sun. "You must be saving up to emigrate to America," I suggested. He looked at me sideways, spoke with an effort. "We should greatly like to go to the States, but here, at present, we have other plans." So now the author asked them whether they were saving the money. They were working hard and saving the money to take up the citizenship in America. He had accepted and said, "We would also like to go to States, but now here we have other plans." "What plans?" He smiled uncomfortably. "Just plans, sir," he answered in a low voice. The author asked what plans they were having, why they were working hard. He replied that they have just plans. This shows that they does not want to reveal their plans to the author. Well, I said, we are leaving on Monday. Is there anything I can do for you before we go? This author wanted to help those two brothers. So he asked them whether they wanted anything from him. Nicola shook his head. Nicola answered no. But suddenly Jacopo said, Sir, he burst out. Every Sunday we make a visit to the country to Poleta, 30 kilometers from here. So he said that every Sunday they used to go to the nearby country Poleta, which was 30 kilometers away from that village. Usually we hire bicycles. Every Sunday they used to hire bicycles. But tomorrow, since you are so kind, you might send us in your car. So he requested the narrator to send them to Poleta in his car. I had already told Yugi he might have the Sunday off. However, I answered, I'll drive you out myself. So already he had given leave to his driver. So he thought to himself that he would itself take them to the nearby country. There was a pause. Nicola was glaring at his younger brother in vexation. Vexation means in irritation. In irritation, he was looking at his brother. We could not think of troubling you, sir. So he was asking to the narrator whether they were giving trouble to him. It won't be any trouble. It was not any trouble to me. He bit his lip. Then, in a rather put out tone, he said, Very well. Then he had accepted it. The following afternoon, we drove to the tiny village set high upon the hillside. So the next Sunday, the author took the two boys to the nearby village upon the hillside. I imagine that our destinations would be some humble dwellings. So this narrator thought that their journey would end in a humble residence. But directed by Jacopo, we drew up at a large red-roofed villa. Villa means a large and luxurious house. So the author thought that they would stop at a humble residence. But now they have stopped before a very big, luxurious house surrounded by a high stone wall. I could scarcely believe my eyes, and before I could recover breath, my two passengers had leaped from the car. So these two boys, they have jumped. Leaped means jumped from the car and they were ready to move inside. We shall not be long, sir. Perhaps only an hour. Maybe you'd like to go to the cafe in the village for a drink. They disappeared beyond the corner of the wall. They were in a hurry mood to enter inside the villa. So they have asked this man to go to the nearby coffee shop and to have a drink. After a few minutes, I followed. I found a grilled side entrance and determinedly rang the bell. So this man, he was very eager to know where they were going. So he had followed those two fellows. A pleasant looking woman with steel rimmed spectacles appeared. So there appeared a nurse. I blinked as I saw that she was dressed in the white uniform of a trained nurse. She was wearing the white uniform of a nurse. I just brought two small boys here. So he said to that nurse that he had brought two boys there. Suddenly she had understood and she said that it would be Nicola and Jacopo. Ah yes, her face lit up. She opened the door to admit me. Nicola and Jacopo, I will take you up. She told the narrator that she would take this man to those boys. She led me through a cool tiled vestibule into the hospital. Vestibule means lobby. For hospital, the villa had become. So now he could understood that it was not a villa, it was a hospital. At the door of a little cubicle, the nurse paused, put her finger to her lips, and with a smile bade me look through the glass partition. So now she had put her finger on her lips and showed not to talk, and she showed the two boys. The two boys were seated at the bedside of a girl of about 20 who propped up on pillows. Prop means to stop falling. So there was a girl about 20. She was just given a pillow that she must not fall down. Wearing a pretty lace jacket, was listening to their chatter. Chatter means gossip. So she was listening to those two boys. They were gossiping. Her eyes soft and tender. One could see at a glance her resemblance to her brothers. So her face showed that she must be the sister of those two boys. A vase of wildflowers stood on her table, beside a dish of fruit and several books. Won't you go in? The nurse murmured. Lucia will be pleased to see you. So the nurse asked the narrator whether he wanted to enter inside. And she also added that Lucia, the girl's name was Lucia. Lucia would be happy on seeing him. I shook my head and turned away. I felt I could not bear to intrude upon this happy family party. But at the foot of the staircase, I drew up and begged her to tell me all she knew about these boys. So this author, he does not want to enter inside the family party. He does not want to disturb those two brothers. She was eager to do so, but he asked a nurse to tell him all the details about those two boys. She was eager to do so. They were, she explained, quite alone in the world except for the sister Lucia. So she told that those two boys were living only for their sister Lucia. Their father, a widower, a well-known singer, had been killed in the early part of the war. She also added that Lucia's father, these two brothers' father, he was a singer and he was killed in the part of Second World War. Shortly afterward, a bomb had destroyed their home and thrown the three children into the streets. Not only the war had killed the children, but also after that they had lost their house. They had always known a comfortable and cultured life. Lucia had herself been training as a singer, and they had suffered horribly from near starvation and exposure to the cold winter. They had lost their house. They had lost their father. So they were starving and they were exposed to the cold winter. For months they had barely kept themselves alive in a sort of shelter they built with their own hands amidst the rubble. So they had itself built a small house with the broken bricks. Then for the 3 years, the German ruled the city. The boys grew to hate the Germans. When the resistance movement began secretly to form, they were among the first to join. So the people had formed a resistance movement against Germans, and these boys are the first to fight against the Germans. When the war was over and we had peace at last, they came back to their beloved sister and they found her suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. At last the war got over and they came to meet their sister and they found that she was suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. She paused, took a quick breath. Did they give up? I do not have to answer that question. They brought her here, persuaded us to take her into the hospital. Persuaded, convinced. So, have they stopped up to this? No. They wanted to take care of their sister. So, they took the sister here and they have asked us to take her to the hospital. They brought her here, persuaded us to take her into the hospital. In the 12 months she has been our patient, she has made good progress. So in 12 months she had recovered a lot. There is every hope that one day she will walk and sing again. She was also a best singer like her father. So now she was doing well, and one day surely she would get up from her bed and she would begin to sing. Of course, everything is so difficult now. food so scarce, and dear, we could not keep going unless we charged a fee. So now we are in the situation to charge a fee from them. But every week, Lucia's brothers have made their payment. So they were working a lot and they were making payment for their sister. She added simply, I don't know what they do. I do not ask. Work is scarce in Verona, but whatever it is, I know they do it well. I don't know what work they were doing, but they were doing well and they were paying the fee. Yes, I agreed. They couldn't do it better. I waited outside until the boys rejoined me and then drove them back to the city. So he had waited in the car. The boys returned back. He was taking them to the city. They sat beside me, not speaking. For my part, I did not say a word. I knew they would prefer to feel that they had safely kept their secret. So they didn't even talk in the car. They didn't even tell any secret, anything about their sister to this narrator. So he knew that, he was feeling that they were thinking that they were keeping the secret. Yet their devotion had touched me deeply. War had not broken their spirit. Their selfless action brought a new nobility to human life, gave promise of a greater hope for human society. So nobility means honor. So now they were working for their sister. They are working very, very hard for their sister. And this lesson shows that their love, devotion, sacrifice, sincerity, and maturity played by these two small boys only for their sister.